beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what wants to come through me. If you like what you hear, if you find this information helpful, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel, to click the like button, share. My purpose ultimately is to help you overcome your shadow, essentially, that which limits you and I. So whatever information I channel is always aligned with that frequency. So my intention, in short, my intention for you is to live your life less from your restricted ego and more from your empowered mind. That's what I would love for you and for everyone, including for myself. So thank you again for being here. For those of you who are returning, once again, without you, I wouldn't do this, and I absolutely love what I do. I channel information from higher perspectives. Essentially, I channel source. And in order for me to channel source, I have to align myself with source. And that takes tremendous effort on my part as Joanna, because for most of my life, I was not in alignment with the source within me. I have denied it. I have learned to deny it. So have you. Purely because of the limited construct of the human ego. So, in order for me to channel source, I have to have a little conversation with my ego that says, you're not source, you can't channel, you can't do this, and so on and so forth it goes. I'm sure you have those voices in your own head. Nonetheless, I am a channel of source, and you are a channel of source, whether you like it or not. The question is, do you believe it? Do you want it to be true? Are you aligned with it? And if not, would you like to align yourself with it? Why would that be so important? Well, think about it for a moment. Source is the source of all there is. So aligning yourself with source, you are aligning with all there is. Infinite possibilities. Infinite. Throughout this channel, there are going to be light codes that will be transmitted to you. And it's going to come to you in the form of a feeling. You'll start to feel in a certain way around your heart area. Okay? These light codes are meant to help and empower you, to help you be filled with more of your own true power. And this is going to come through as my voice in some way, shape, or form. It may be certain words I say, or you may not even hear certain things that are coming to you, but you will be receiving this energetically. You don't have to believe in this. All you have to do is be open. So if you are open to being more empowered, if you are open to feeling and embodying being more empowered, then all you have to do is have the intention for that to occur and allow yourself to be open. And the energy will influence you in very positive ways. You don't even have to necessarily believe it. Just be open to it. Be open to something good happening. And then just let it go. Okay? I have been away for a few weeks. My entire house was going through a massive restructuring process, which was aligned basically with my inner process. In other words, my inner workings have been collapsing for a very long time, and my outer world was reflecting it in terms of my home. In other words, my physical home. In other words, the energy inside me began to change, and that was becoming reflective of my external environment. In other words, I was away because my house was going through complete remodeling and restructuring, floors on all levels, foundation. And I had no space to do this work. Energetically, it was all over the place. Plus, I felt I needed time away from social media in order to help me detach. So you might notice a different feel coming through me as compared to other videos. The energy feels much more settled and settled. I feel more within my own self, and I needed that time to get away from all the 3D chaos and the algorithms and all of that, and I just needed to give myself a break. And this break was very important, as I've come to realize that now. It helped me detach from the idea of needing to be on YouTube every single week. And if I didn't, I had a huge fear rise up within me. What if I lose my viewers? What if my numbers don't show this? And I was in this anxiety-ridden frequency. And I can't control the YouTube, nor do I want to. It's probably a really big job that I'm not interested in. But YouTube has been, up until this point at least, a platform from where I literally make a living. This is how you know about me, so that I can ultimately at some point on some level help you. Without that, you don't know I exist. So it's very much tied to my bread and butter. And as many of you know, that can be a there can be a lot of conflict when it comes to things like that. So by going away, I realized I haven't done a video for 3 weeks, I think. And on my walk yesterday, I realized, oh wow, I'm not so attached to this need to producing, and I'm not as attached to the numbers, I'm not as attached to the algorithm. And it felt very freeing to me. And I almost thought to myself, wow, I'm no longer attached to this. It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to me. Of course it does. But the level of attachment is somehow different. It's like I don't care. I do care, but I don't care. I'm less attached to it. Why am I talking about this? Sometimes we need time away from the chaos in order to detach from the chaos. Not quite sure what that means. And that is supposed to mean something. Okay? Of course, reflecting also helps. So anyway, this is a little short version of why I was away, and why this almost forced being away was needed in this process of my own evolution. Because as I come back now, as I'm having this first recording, the energy feels very different, and I don't believe, in a positive way, and I don't believe I would have had the opportunity to embody this frequency unless I was away and detached. There's a lesson in it. My mind isn't quite sure yet what that is. So today we're going to talk about your own self-realization, as this is what I talk about. This is what I channel. How to help you realize more of yourself, not less of yourself, more of yourself. So the channels I channel are all about inner understanding and your own empowerment. You've heard the saying, knowledge is power. Well, it's not so much that knowledge is power, it's what you do with this knowledge. And that's very powerful. So ultimately, my goal is to channel higher knowledge to help you and I discover more of ourselves for ourselves. Not for others, but for ourselves, and then everyone benefits. They said we are all here to overcome our ego structures. I agree with that. If you're here watching this, then there is some part of you that wants to know itself from more than just the egoic structure. You want to move beyond your ego structure. You don't want to let go of your ego. You want to move beyond the limiting structure of your ego. You want to have an experience beyond the limitations, because there's always more. And then they started to talk about liberation. They said the greatest form of liberation is spiritual liberation, where the ego doesn't own you. So what I'm hearing is, when the ego owns you, you're screwed, because it's your boss and it's very limited. So it does things in a very limited way. It sees things in a very limited way. And when it owns you, it limits you. But your egoic structure is a part of you. It is not you. It's only when you define yourself as an egoic structure, then you become the person that's limited. You are, we could say this, you are essentially an unlimited being living within the construct of limitations, and because you live within those constructs, limitations is what you experience. But there's always something more. So you are on the path to self-liberation or spiritual liberation. Certainly I am, as Joanna. And it is important to me to liberate myself from my ego, not to get rid of my ego, not to even resist my ego, not to destroy my ego, none of those things, because ego is a part of me. Why would I want to destroy a part of me? That's destroying myself, because it's part of the self. I don't want to destroy myself. I've been doing that most of my life. I want to empower myself. I want to be the being that I can be without my perceived limitations. And I want that for you. Now, I can want all I want. Do you want it for you? If you want it for you, then hopefully this information is going to give you some tools, some understandings, so that you can go and create life beyond your perceived limitations. Okay? With the very powerful Lionsgate that's coming up and it's 8-8, and 2024 equals 8, so it's a 888. It's a very powerful a window of opportunity, I want to say, where an opening is happening on some energetic level. And we are all walking through this portal, if you will. And this portal is very high in frequency. And it's almost like when we walk through it, we can release, burn away our burdens. But we can also hold on to our burdens. We can keep it. So as this powerful Lionsgate is approaching, because I am recording this on the 6th, no, first and foremost, always remember that virtually anything is possible. Now, is it possible that you're going to grow wings? Well, not in a human form. That's not very likely. But I suspect if you spend 18 hours a day focusing on growing your wings for 40 or 30 or 50 years, I have a feeling, and that might be something growing from the back of your back. Your mind is that powerful. Okay? But because you believe you're not going to grow wings, you're not going to grow wings. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things like, oh, I can't do this because I'm not good enough. That's a burden. You feeling not good enough about yourself, for example, is a burden that you're carrying. So if you feel not good enough, the question you might want to ask yourself, Do I still want to continue to feel this way? Do I want to identify myself as a lackful person? Because remember, you and I are always connected to Source. If you believe in lack, you don't believe in the abundance within you. And when I say the abundance within you is a spark of Source. It's infinite. This is who you are. You are an infinite being without a structure. What gives you structure is your own ego's understanding you have about yourself. That's what gives you your structure, not the physical structure, the psychological structure, the you. And your mind holds all that information. Your mind is very powerful, as you know. So what you give credence to becomes very powerful. If you give credence to the fact that you are not good enough, that's going to be a very powerful statement you have about the I. Whenever you identify yourself with a certain concept, you become that concept. You live out that concept. It's because that's what you hold about yourself. And what you hold about yourself will always be reflected in your experiences. So use the Lionsgate portal as a way to release yourself from your own internal prisons. Start by asking yourself this question. If I could, what part of me, what burden would I choose to let go about myself? What do I hold about myself that I would choose to let go? And then choose it. Actively, consciously, willingly, intentionally choose it. How? By first and foremost proclaiming, I choose to no longer believe in myself as inadequate, as an example. It's not enough to say, I don't want to see myself as an inadequate. That's not enough. I choose to see myself as more than inadequate, or I choose to see myself as a valuable person. Choose. It's a very, very, very powerful statement. And then choose. Choose. If you see yourself as inadequate, for example, choose a vision that is the opposite. What is the opposite of that? If you were to be adequate, what would that be like for you? Would it feel scary or pleasurable or a little bit of both? You, throughout this portal, have the opportunity to decide more of who you choose to be, not who you're supposed to be, who you choose to be. And you choose to be each and every day. I'm not talking about the physical body. I'm talking about your mental construct. So it's about choosing consciously, but we all know that. I'm not asking you to consciously choose for yourselves to divide. No, let your unconscious or subconscious part of you take care of that. Let the body take care of that. But choose how you choose to live out the rest of your life. Do you choose to live out your life for the rest of your life more so from a happier state, as an example, or less happy state? Although I want to say this. Happiness comes in different forms. Everyone always wants to be happy. Sometimes just to be happy, we need to choose to be happy. And some of us don't know how to be happy. We just don't know what it means. Having something will make you happy for 5 minutes. But after that, it wears off and then you're back to your unhappy place. Happiness comes from within. It cannot be purchased, it cannot be bought, it cannot be borrowed. It comes from within. So always remember, your best form of happiness is to choose you first and then choose accordingly. What does that mean? When you choose you, you begin to realize more of your goals. I'm not saying be selfish, I'm not saying that. But when you choose you, you align yourself with more, not less, more. Choosing yourself simply means loving yourself unconditionally. When you love yourself unconditionally, you are virtually unstoppable. What does it mean to love yourself unconditionally? Thank you for asking. Accept all parts of yourself, including the dark parts, because you have them, because it's all okay. Allow yourself to acknowledge that you have, quote unquote, shadow parts, dark parts, angry parts, bad parts. Allow yourself to acknowledge they're there, because they're there. Everyone has them. First, acknowledge them. Don't deny it. Acknowledge it's there. Because if it's there, it has a purpose. You may not be able to see it, but it has a higher purpose. Okay? Your job, if you're listening here, is to transform your own fears, to transform your own shadows. And by transforming your own shadows, you begin to live out more of your potential. And shadow is tied to the egoic structure. So when you transform your shadows, you begin to live more in the light, in a higher vibration. And that higher vibration then becomes the dominant force of your life. It becomes your predominant fuel, not your fear. Some fear is necessary. It's a tool designed to help us stay alive in the physical body. If you had absolutely no fear, you're probably dead by now. Not a good idea. Okay? I'm talking the fears and perceptions where, again, you fear is that you are not good enough. Nonsense. Now, it could be according to your judgments I have about you or others made about you, but those are judgments. That's not who you are. Who you are is who you are, and judgment is a judgment, just like your ego. You are you, and then there is your ego. But because you identify as your ego, you believe that's your ego, that this is you. You're not your hand, but you have a hand. A hand is part of you. But you don't say, I am a hand. So let this Lionsgate portal assist you in becoming more of yourself. By first understanding and recognizing that there is more to you than what you think and what you believe and what you feel right now. There's infinitely more to you. And then choosing to access it. I choose to access more of me. And then let it go and see what happens. Choose. So let the universe assist you through this portal in you choosing what is best and right for you, not for somebody else, for you. Now, of course, you're not going to go and eat 2 bags of chocolate chip cookies because you know it's not good for you. You're designed to know what's best for you. You're designed to, you have that knowledge within you. Your soul knows what's best for you. Best doesn't necessarily always equal in a wonderful experience. Sometimes what's best for you is an experience where you have to fall down on your butt so that you can release your old shadow and then start fresh anew and move to a completely different state of being. Sometimes that's required. We call it the breaking of the old status quo. So let's go through 3 piles. Each pile represents a certain guidance, certain light codes, and just be open to what happens. Just be open to what wants to be received. Okay. So if you are pile number 1, I'm seeing a shell and an echo. Have you ever held a shell and you hear the water? Well, apparently it's because of the shape. I don't know too much, but you can hear an echo. I feel like something from your past is wanting your attention. Something needs forgiveness. We'll see if there's more. And the forgiveness is can be for some of you towards others, but it can be a lot of it has to do with forgiveness towards yourself. When we don't forgive ourselves, we hold ourselves as hostage. And that's a very painful experience. Imagine being held as hostage. Talk to somebody who was held as a hostage. It's a very unappealing place to be. When you deny yourself of love, for example, you are holding yourself hostage. You are holding yourself in fear. Why would you deny yourself of love when that's very much a part of you? Well, how come I don't feel it? Okay, that's a great question. What's missing? What would make you feel it? Perhaps a greater level of self-acceptance? You are worthy more than you can possibly think of. In other words, the very idea of you being unworthy, as far as the consciousness is concerned, it's absurd. It doesn't even exist. The unworthiness is ego structured. It's a structure of the ego. It's a structure of the egoic mind. You are not inadequate. You are not responsible for other people's emotions. You're not here to break your back to help others. I don't know who this message is for. And you're not here to understand other people's purpose other than yours. Okay, so maybe some of you are focusing on other people's purpose. Now, if that's your work, that's your function, that's different. This is about focusing a lot of attention on other people's business and not enough attention to your business. For example, are you a busybody? Sorry, just a messenger. If you are a busybody, then examine your motives for being a busybody. Don't judge it, just examine your motives for being busybody. I'm saying, what's a busybody? Your nose is in everything. Why would you want your nose in everything? That's a lot of work. Okay, let's see. Message number 1, efficiency. Because of the way it landed, it showed me right away that you think of yourself as deficient. Let me tell you something. There is virtually no thing that is somehow broken or deficient about you. There never was, there never will be. In the eye of all that is, you are eternally, absolutely perfect. You are pure perfection just as you are, including your own confinements. That's perfect too. There's nothing imperfect about you. I'm not talking about your human judgments. I'm asking you to move beyond your judgments, because the human ego mind has its own ideas on that, and what perfection is, what perfection isn't. Okay? Are you trying to be perfect all the time? Do you have this high need to always be seen as perfect? Why is perfectionism such a big thing for you, if this resonates with you? So imagine yourself arriving at this destination called I am perfect. And ask yourself, what would that look like? What would that feel like? Would you feel that you're capable? Well, I have news for you. You are capable right now. Look at all the life you have created. You're going to call that incapable? Remember, you are a very masterful being. And because of that, you always create masterfully, whether you realize it or not. You are a master of your own creation. I know that can be very hard to hear. Well, I didn't create this. That's up for debate. Consciously, no. Unconsciously, yes. We are all mostly unconscious in terms of our creation. We create unconsciously. If you create out of fear, you create unconsciously. The question is, do you want to keep doing that? Because if you don't, you have to start believing something else. Sometimes it's not that you are not capable. Sometimes it's more of, are you willing to do what's required? And sometimes that can be scary. Sacred inner space, sacral chakra, tenderness, sensuality. If you resonate with the idea of not being good enough, that's a residual from your mother's lineage. That's what I'm getting first and foremost. So if you feel that you are not good enough, look at your own mother or someone who was like a mother to you, and ask yourself if this is a person that feels good enough about herself. Most of the things that we carry within our beingness are not even, those are things that we have inherited. They're not even ours. Some of you, what I'm sensing is fear of being left alone, a fear of being abandoned. Are you doing things out of fear of abandonment? For example, let's say you're in a toxic situation and you don't want to be there, but you have a very deep-seated fear of abandonment. So rather than abandoning or being abandoned, you stay in a toxic environment. We could say that it doesn't serve you, but it does. It always serves you in some way. So you give into this toxicity in favor of something else. And what you're saying in that moment by staying, but not wanting to stay, you're saying to yourself, I can't have more. Yes, you can. Whatever you are experiencing right now, there is always more. There's always more. There's always infinitely more. Just like there is more to you, there is more to the situation. So always observe your environment from a higher perspective. Be candid, representing a throat chakra. What do you say to you about yourself that's negative? Are you afraid of voicing your own opinion? Are you afraid that you're going to be judged for voicing opinion? Are you afraid that you don't have enough to say? Or that what you have to say is somehow not valuable? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It doesn't negate the fact that you are a valuable person. It doesn't mean that you are less than. It doesn't mean that you are inadequate or broken. It doesn't mean any of those things. Okay? What you believe about yourself, you will automatically project to the outside of you. What is your environment reflecting to you right now in terms of how you speak to others about yourself, or how you speak about yourself to yourself? How do you hold yourself hostage? And just having awareness on that will begin to open almost like these doors for you where you can free yourself from, where you can liberate yourself from that. But you first have to see it. You have to own it. Remember, in order to choose to let go of something, you need to know that there is something to let go of. So frequently observe your shadows. And I, as Joanna, love working with shadows because they're a source of so much information. It's incredible how we can learn so much from the shadow and help us use that knowledge and wisdom to do something better. We just have to be willing to do that. And remember, my job is to help you overcome your shadows. And in order to overcome something, you have to step beyond it. So, good luck with that one. Of course, if you need help, you can reach me. But the energy right now is very supportive of you doing this work because you're a bit of a pioneer. You're here to clear the way, if I may say so. Clear the path for others. All right, so that's what I have for you, pile number 1. All right, pile number 2, let's see what we have for you so that you can liberate yourself from your own egoic mind. Ooh, okay. We have dependability and we have fragments. Okay, both showed up in a resistance position. This speaks to me to codependency. Codependency on all levels, to a human being, to a substance, to addiction, to, in other words, something that you feel you need in order to live. I'm gonna put it that way. This is a space within your own evolution where you have the opportunity to come more into your own inner balance. And what happens when you see yourself from a perspective of more balance? It's like your yin and yang becomes more evenly distributed, is how I want to say it. And right now, if you're pile 2, you tend to veer off more to the masculine. And that's all action, it's heat, a lot of heat. Mind-driven, analytical mind-driven, fear, there's some fear there. So naturally, your life will be driven by that energy. But what if I said that it would really help you if you came more into your softer, more feminine frequency, just a little bit more? And one of the things that comes with it is the idea of trusting yourself. What if you could learn to trust yourself more? Because you do have trust, you just put it in places where they don't really serve you. If you believe you can't live without someone, that's you trusting that. As an example. Your gut center is being shown to me, an emotional back and forth. Okay, so likely you're someone who is used to experiencing emotional back and forth, or this is how you give of yourself. It's back and forth. There's no steady, it's back and forth, very indecisive. When someone is indecisive, they will tend to, when someone is indecisive, they're in their head. Sometimes, and I would go as far as saying a lot of the times, if you were to move beyond your head and go to your heart, you would know what the right choice is or was. Right now, you're being asked to make choices and decisions from a very powerful state of being in your heart, which is a more empowered state. So how does it connect to the solar plexus? You may experience some digestion problems, or you may have had digestion problems most of your life. Okay? If you depend on other people in order to validate you for this, for example, that's a codependent relationship you have with other people. It's unhealthy. It's not equally balanced. You need to learn how to equally validate yourself. How do you validate yourself as an example? Well, for one, stop telling yourself, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that. Now, if you're saying I can't fly, well, no, you have no wings, but you can take a plane. So that's just a metaphor. A lot of the times, it's not that you can't, it's more that you're not willing to go through the process of letting something go. So what are you in the process of letting go right now, but you're resisting? There's a resistance coming up, or is now being felt. And it has to do with some new project. So this may not be for all of you. This project is a big responsibility. It's like this project is waiting for you to be with it. So you may have a project on the side, or something may be presented to you as a project, and your job is to grab it and just take a chance with it. Okay? And that may mean for many of you jumping into the unknown, and the unknown can and often is very scary because we don't know. But what if you knew that at the end of that jumping with the project was something positive? What if you knew without a doubt that this project is going to bring you something positive? Let's face it, if you know that it's negative, you're not going to be a part of the project. Okay, so if you know something is not going to be good for you, trust that. Trust it. Believe in your eye. Trust it. You're not afraid of responsibility, but you are. It's a bit strange. You're not afraid of responsibility, but you are. Do you hold yourself responsible for other people's actions? Obviously, if you have a 5-year-old, you have to modify that, right? But as an adult, do you frequently hold yourself responsible for other people's actions or non-actions? And if so, why is that? Why are you holding yourself responsible for other people's actions or non-actions? In other words, you become responsible for their free will. And I just heard, well, what if they don't have a free will? Yes, they do. I'm not talking about someone being born in a body that's not functioning properly and just willing to change that is going to happen. No, the soul chose that particular body for a reason. There's a reason for that. It may not be evident in this lifetime, but there is absolutely a reason. So this is time about you, pile number 2. Very much about self-empowerment, and by realigning yourself with your own source. Now remember, you are part of source. Source lives within you, like it or not. If you didn't believe it, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening to this. You know this. All I'm doing is I'm helping you, hopefully, to remember little by little. In fact, source cannot live outside of you because you are part of it. Source is very much part of you. I'm not calling you God, God forbid, but you are part of it. It's woven through you, in and out of you, upside and inside and outside. It is in you. Source is within you all the time. The question is for you, pile number 2, how do you deny yourself, or how do you keep yourself apart from that source? What judgments do you hold about you? You're not important enough? Well, if you were not important, source wouldn't have created you. Source doesn't make mistakes. There's no such thing. You are not a mistake. You're not a fluke. You're not something that just happened to land on this earth, God knows for what. No, you're a significant piece of this human consciousness transformation. You play a big part in that. I need you to hear that. There's a purpose why you are here and why you're listening right now. You may not know exactly how to put this purpose into your 3D words, but you are an essential part of human evolution. You are that important. And you are certainly more important, or as important to God. The next card is we have fragments. So this is how we fragment ourselves. This is how we quote unquote come apart. This is how we split. In order for you to, how do I say this? In order for you to embody your source, you have to be on a certain level at peace with yourself. Because if you're not at peace with yourself, then you're at war. And war and source are opposites. Okay? Source is love, war is, well, not love, fear. Living in fear separates you from source, but it doesn't separate you. It can't. It only denies you what comes with connection to source. Remember, source is the source of everything. When you disconnect yourself from source through your fears, you're disconnecting yourself from knowledge, certainly higher knowledge. Because fear keeps you focused in a different direction. Pile number 2, what's your greatest fear right now? Fear of abandonment? Release that shadow, transform that shadow. We can talk about how in other podcasts. Certainly if you feel like you need help, you can reach out. remember, the greatest form of liberation is spiritual liberation, where you are no longer owned by your fear or by your ego. And your fear is the construct of the ego, okay? Of the egoic structure. If you let your fear own you, you will live in fear. If you own your fear and understand that there's a purpose behind it, it's part of you, but it isn't you, and it does not have to define you, then you become the boss of that fear. You still have it, you need it on some level. For one, it brings wisdom. But you no longer choose to live in fear. You choose to live in presence of your own inner source. That's called contentment. The other one is called confinement. Okay. The greatest form of self-love is self-acceptance. Look at how you are not accepting yourself right now, currently. What do you reject about yourself? How do you vilify yourself? How do you negate yourself, your own needs? How do you communicate to yourself that you're not special? Now, everyone is special. So are you. Remember, if you weren't special or important, Source would not have created you. Wouldn't have happened. Now, you either allow yourself to receive it, or you pretend you don't hear it, or you choose to not believe it. That's called free will. You do with it whatever you choose, however you please, with zero judgment. Go to town. But choose. And choose consciously. Choose to no longer separate yourself from your source. I choose to no longer separate myself from my source. I embody my source. And then notice what happens when you say that to you. Does your body go like, yes? Or does it go, Murr? Generally, it's going to want to resist because it is not something that you're used to doing consciously. It's because we're used to living mostly unconsciously. Choose to be a conscious creator. Choose. How do you create? With your powerful mind. And since most of the creation comes from the unconscious, become more conscious. Choose to become more conscious. Hey, universe, I choose to become more conscious, and then watch what happens. The universe will help you through experiences to become more conscious. The universe will take care of that. The how and the when, and don't worry about that. That's the universe's job to figure out. The universe knows what's best for you. Your soul knows what's best for you. Release the need to try to control everything. I know it's hard. I, as Joanna, like to have my control. We're not saying control is bad. It's just like with anything. Too much or too little of anything is out of balance. Okay? Too much control, especially in the wrong hands, bad idea. Solar light upgrade, solar plexus chakra, inner fire, willpower. You believe in what you want. Believe in what you want. Whatever you want to believe in that. Well, what if I begin to believe that I can fly? Well, if you can really believe that you can fly with all the layers of conditioning, and you transform these layers, and at the very core of you, you realize that you can fly, I bet you something is going to happen where you're going to be seeing yourself out of your body or something like that. Intention is important, but also the belief in the intention is equally, if not more important. That's really hard because we have layers and layers and layers of conditioning, individual, societal conditioning. Okay? Believe and then make it happen. If you believe in something, I suspect you're going to make it happen because you believe in it. Do you believe in yourself? Pile number 2. Do you believe in yourself? You believe in something. If you say, I don't believe in myself, I'm going to say that's absurd. Of course you do. If you don't believe in yourself, then you're saying that somehow you're inadequate. There's that you believe in that. You choose what you want to believe or not believe, and then see what happens. And it's not like a switch that comes off. It takes time, because you've been choosing the other for a very long time. It just became your unconscious mechanism. So you choose very unconsciously. This is a conscious choice. This is you consciously deciding, choosing what you want to believe about you right now. Do you choose to believe that you are one with Source, or do you choose to deny it? It's that simple. Choose. Now notice the ego is going to qualify that. Oh, I'm not with one because of blah, 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 blah. Those are the stories. Those are your egoic stories. You are not the story. You live out your story, but you're not the story. Change your story, pile number 2. Sounds like you have a decision to make, or you will shortly be coming to a juncture of sorts where a decision will be made, and I'm getting the month of November, okay? Between now and November. Notice how your solar plexus reacts to this decision. Is it fearful? Is it coming from a fearful space? Because this decision is going to unleash this is a very powerful decision for whoever you are. And it's going to help unleash you. It's going to help unleash you. It's going to help you unleash your power. And whatever this decision is, you're afraid of making the wrong choice or making a mistake. If you know it's the wrong choice, don't do it. Don't choose it. If you know it's a mistake, don't make that choice. Otherwise, what's called is chance. Let's see what happens. Go into it with your highest and best intentions. Magnify what you can do versus what you can't, and then see what happens. See where life wants to take you. It's a very powerful time for growth for you, pile number 2. Last but not least, you need some downtime. Your head, your mind has been very busy, very preoccupied with what's next. Stop asking what's next and instead ask yourself, what would I choose my next to be? What would I choose my next to be? Okay, I would choose my happiness. Okay, choose happiness and act accordingly. Now, this is where it gets really hard. What do you mean act accordingly? Have you heard the phrase, sometimes fake it till you make it? Pretend to be happy. As an example, pretend to be happy. Wear a smile on your face every day and see what happens. Your environment is going to reflect something very different to you. The moment you start to realize how you affect your environment, it's extraordinarily powerful. Remember, you are a powerful being. You are a master. Underneath of all your confinements, you are a masterful creator. You create with your will. Often it's an unconscious will. Always focus on becoming more, not becoming less. Now, here's what I want to say. You don't have to become anything for Source to accept you. Source accepts you unconditionally, whether you want to hide under a rock or soar in the sky, and everything in between. Source has no judgments, 0, but you do. Observe your judgments, pile number 2. And October, November, for some of you is going to be very big. All right, that's what I have for you, pile number 2. That was beautiful. All right, let's see what we have for you. Pile number 3. First and foremost, you are being reminded, for some of you, and for some of you, you are being asked to trust your intuition, to trust your own inner wisdom, to trust the knowledge you have within you, and you've arrived at a certain awareness. You hold within you a certain awareness. Within that awareness, there was a lot of lessons and knowledge and trials and tribulations. You have a lot of information at your disposal, okay? Wise information. In other words, in order for you to have wisdom, you have to have gone through an experience. You have a lot of experiences that are helping you arrive at a certain level of wisdom, okay? This wisdom can, and frequently for many of you, will be shared with others. And I'm not talking about the idea of being a wise ass. That's ego, just in case you're wondering. I'm talking about the type of wisdom that comes from experience. You have a lot to offer to the world. More than you think and more than you know. And I'm here to tell you that, to validate that within you, because many of you know that there is this source of wisdom, but you don't know how to tap into it. You just know what you know, but you don't know how you know. That wisdom is inherent in you. It's part of who you are. I also want to remind you, I hope this is going to make sense to you, that you come from the stars. That's supposed to mean different things to different people. You are energetically connected to different star systems, and these star systems being your home. You are multidimensionally connected to different star systems. And because of that, you have access to tremendous knowledge. There are beings within those different star systems that are connected to you vibrationally, and they are connecting with your solar plexus and your heart chakra. And somehow I'm not supposed to say this to you. It's supposed to be validating, okay? So you have access to tremendous knowledge. You have access. Not every one of you is willing to access it or is able to access it because you don't know how. So the first step to accessing this wisdom is to choose to believe that you are connected and you have access right now. Right now, you have access and direct connection to all different planetary star systems. And you frequently, for some of you infrequently, visit those star systems, and they're your home. You visit them you visit them between lives, but you also visit them throughout your night when you're sleeping. And this is common knowledge that our soul goes to, beyond the human in order to recharge, okay, to ask for guidance. If you're listening to this pile number 3, you have direct access to a very, very high vibrational guidance. I will go as far as saying this. You, vibrationally speaking, are already connected to source. Okay? You don't need these connections with other star beings, but these other star beings are very supportive of your journey, and they have a lot of valuable information to offer to you because they've gone through the process that we're going through as humanity, and they've been there before. Some of them like millions of years ago, like 5 billion of years ago. Some of these are blue beings. Some of these are winged creatures. When I mean creatures, I don't mean bad, and everything in between. You are, by being here in a human body, also supporting these star systems. How are you supporting them? By channeling your own human knowledge, because it helps them understand themselves better in some way. So it's a co-creation. They are helping you, and you are in turn helping them understand. And they have a need for that understanding. They have their own needs. They're higher vibrational beings, but they learn from us. Okay? So you have this access now, and now your choice is to either accept it or deny it, and then let it go and see what happens. Okay? You are at crossroads right now, and your communication style is somehow different or is changing. First and foremost, you are becoming more sure of yourself so that you can own this part of you. And you are in the process of grounding this information. Now, this information is essential to you in order for you to, quote unquote, live out your path or your, quote unquote, purpose. That's not your only purpose, but it's one of your main purposes. It's to communicate light source, light code to the masses. So you are likely someone who is either drawn to being a speaker, or life is kind of just pushing you in a direction of speaking out, and I'm getting light codes, and or you are absolutely terrified of it, which would be I'm not so much terrified of it anymore, as much. That's your clue. That's your clue. If you're terrified of it, it's because in some other instance, you were prosecuted by what you had to say. You were tied to the idea of some magician, and that made other people feel very vulnerable. So in order to eliminate their vulnerability, they have extinguished you. So you have a fear of death when it comes to channeling this higher information. Here's what I'm going to say to you right now. In this life, you're not going to die for channeling higher frequency beings. It's not what's going to happen in this lifetime. Okay, so perhaps that's going to reduce a little bit of your fear. You're also not going to be prosecuted. You're afraid of prosecution. You might say things that other people don't like, and they will vilify you for it. It's not uncommon for people, when they start connecting to higher consciousness and speaking it out, or saying that they're channeling source, and somebody comes in and says, you can't channel source. You need a middleman. You are connecting to evil. That's what they choose to believe. That's what they choose to believe. And them saying that to you is going to be like, okay, well, that's their belief. I know what my truth is. So you are becoming much more comfortable in your body. And I like that. I like that for you. Here's why I like it for you. Because it actually opens you up to expressing yourself even more, to aligning yourself with these star being systems even more profoundly. Over the next year and a half, your connection with other star beings is going to grow exponentially for some of you. Now, my logical mind goes, yeah, I can see that. I see it everywhere. So many people, more people are channeling, and the whole idea of light codes is becoming more accepted by some groups, of course, not everybody. Even I, as Joanna, if you said to me that I was going to channel light codes in some unfamiliar language a few months ago, I would have said, there's no way. Too afraid of judgments. Now I welcome it, and when and if comes to it, I'm just going to let it flow. Now, I'll probably have some trepidations, but I'm going to let it flow. And that's because I begin to trust the source in me, and the source knows what's best for me and how to express it. So if it happens to come through light codes, then that is obviously what you need. I don't know that. Source knows that. And I'm less preoccupied what are people going to say. People are going to say whatever they're going to say. It's generally their own reflection. Many people are scared of themselves. To the logical mind, that makes no sense, but we have to go beyond the limited logic. Right now, you believe in the power of your ego, which is a limited construct. So ego has power over you. The moment you realize that you are more powerful than your ego, then the construct of your ego begins to go. Doesn't die, but it loses its effect. Its effect on you. You still have an ego, but you're not as identifying with the ego. When you don't identify with an ego, in fact, when you don't identify with anything, you by this identifying yourself with your ego, you are naturally reconnecting yourself back to source. But it's not that you're disconnected. You can't be disconnected. It's your ability to perceive that about yourself. So let's go through the cards. Surface. What wants to come up for you right now? There's some vulnerability that wants to come up right now, and you're afraid to be seen. You're afraid to be vulnerable. If you are here to channel certain information, and if you were extinguished in a different lifetime because of that, yes, that is a cellular memory. Okay? But remember, in this lifetime, you will not be prosecuted. People may verbally say things to you, but remember, what people say to you is mostly their own reflection of themselves. Okay? In fact, you are here to stir the pot. I, as Joanna, like stirring the pot. It's because it disturbs the status quo. You're here to no longer live out the old status quo. You're here to move beyond the limiting status quo. Third eye activation. Brow chakra, inner vision, clear seeing. What I was getting, though, because it came up in reverse position, this is how I see it. It's you're not seeing things clearly yet. First and foremost, about yourself. Okay, thank you. If you're not seeing yourself as part of God, source, all that is, then you're not seeing yourself clearly. It's important to see yourself as part of source. It comes with its own benefits. What you see is how you perceive it, or how you perceive something is how you will see it. So your experience is the projection of your own mind. If you deem something as bad, it's because you are deeming it as bad or good. Judgments, right? Your judgments are actually very limiting to you. They limit you and they limit your experience. The more you judge yourself and the more you judge others, the more you are creating from a limited space, because judgments are limiting. Okay? Judgments are also your own confinements. The more you judge yourself, the more you are stuck in your own confinement, in your own inner prison. So what judgments do you hold about yourself? Especially around the idea of vulnerability. I'm not sure quite what that means. Something wants to be revealed to you, and I want to say in the month of October. You need a certain information in order to proceed towards the next step that's waiting for you, just around the corner. There's something you need to see about yourself that's going to allow you to take this risk, because you're going to be taking some risk. There's some risk taking involved. Okay? Perhaps what you need to see in yourself is just how powerful of a creator you are. Perhaps someone needs to help you open your eyes to just the way how you create, by helping you open up to yourself so that you can see yourself more clearly. When I say to see yourself more clearly, what I mean is to understand yourself more fully. To understand yourself more fully. You have a very powerful sacral solar plexus center and a throat chakra. You express a lot from your gut and your throat. Makes sense to me if you are someone who is here to channel higher frequency information. Okay? How you feel about yourself, which is particularly held in the solar plexus, is going to either enhance your ability to express or limit that ability. And you have the ability to express. You might actually be some sort of a magician. You might identify with a magician. I actually, as Joanna, my archetype is a magician. I am a magician in this lifetime. That's my life path, which makes sense. You're your own magician, whether you have an archetype of one or not. You're your own magician. You create life. When you understand yourself more completely, you will begin to see the power you have within you to create any change you want to have in your life. No, you may not change yourself from being 5 feet tall to 6 feet tall. Just accept that you're 5 feet tall. It's okay. It's got to be a reason for it. But you can always or almost always change your circumstances. If not the circumstances, then how you feel and see yourself within those circumstances. You are a powerful being, and I believe that you are here to reflect that to the rest of the world. The beings that you have access to and that you are working with are very powerful, and they can actually feel very overpowering for some of you because they come with a lot of light, a lot of frequency, especially the winged ones. So you likely have a connection to angels, archangels. But for you, specifically pile 3, different solar systems. Okay? You may be communicating with quote-unquote creatures you didn't even know existed and believe that this is your mind making things up. But what if it isn't? What if your mind is just filtering through what is and it doesn't know how to make sense of it? Because it can't. It's beyond your physical construct. You have no frame of reference for it. It's not your 3D experience. You'd have a tendency to pull back emotionally. Most people pull back because they don't want to get hurt. That's the standard. Nobody wants to get hurt. But if we don't allow ourselves to be emotionally involved or invested, then we are invested logically, but we're getting half of the experience. Emotions give you a fuller experience. So if you have a tendency to detach emotionally, I want you to ask yourself the question, why? Why do I detach emotionally? Why do I hold my emotions back? And see what comes to you. Because this is something you might want to heal. This is a particularly good time around the Lion's Gate Gateway to help you release that, because this Lion's Gate Gateway is an opportunity to release yourself from any limitations. Okay? Now, remember, when you choose to let go of a limitation, you will likely be presented with that situation so that you can learn how to let go of it in your 3D life. Okay? So life will always present to you a challenge which would help you overcome this challenge with your newfound awareness. And once you overcome a challenge with a newfound awareness, you've just realized there is one way, more than one way to do something or to look at something. And that ends up being extraordinarily freeing to you. You are here to offer freedom to other people. Now, you're not going to say, here, it's $5 worth of dollars worth of freedom, you're going to say, hey, you want to feel free on the inside? Let me share with you how. And if they're asking, if they're not asking, don't share it with them. Maybe they're not interested. I mean, why would somebody not be interested in being happy? Listen, some people insist on being unhappy. That's okay. There's no judgment in that. It's all within the plethora of the smorgasbord of feelings. Okay? You are choosing pile 3 to embody being more empowered person by letting go of the ways you disempower yourself and maybe others. When you let go of the how you disempower yourself, you automatically begin to empower yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So the question you want to ask yourself is this: how do I disempower myself? How do I disempower myself? Being afraid of being judged is you disempowering yourself. You're going to be judged anyway. I, as Joanna, will tell you that right now. I come always with the highest and purest intentions. I know what's in my heart. I know what I'm here to do, why I'm doing it, and the way I'm doing it. I am completely at peace with that. Used to be at odds most of the time. I'm at peace with that. If someone is going to judge me based on what they perceive about me because that somehow is triggering them, they're allowed to have that experience. It has nothing to do with me. I know where my heart is. I know why I'm doing this. I freaking love seeing you, helping you see you. It's an aphrodisiac. When I hear or see or observe from your comments that this information helps you empower yourself, that's music to my ears. I love what I do. I know what's in my heart. I will never channel information that somehow is self-serving and I use you to serve me. Now, I did do that at the very beginning because I was extraordinarily insecure. I needed your validation to validate my experience. I'm not saying I don't need your validation. It's nice when you validate something I said and how it makes an impact on you. That feels really good to me. That's like, you know what? Thank you, I'm doing my job. It's like a confirmation. But I can't depend on that because then I'm using you to make me feel good about you. I don't want that. And I don't want you using me to feel good about you. I want you to feel good about you. That's why I do this. Imagine everybody in the world felt good. Now, of course, it's a stretch, but just imagine. Everyone, for the most part, everybody feels good. There's no drama. There's no need for competition other than like a healthy sports. There's no need for hate. Like everybody just kind of feels chill. And we go on scary rides and go to scary movies to give us a little bit of an oomph. But everybody just kind of went like calm waters. Imagine living life from a space like that. This is where humanity is heading. That's the direction we're heading into. And you are a very important part in that. You either see it or you don't. If you don't see it, perhaps this information will help you see it. Perhaps this information is validating to what you already know. Perfect. I'm not saying you've arrived. There's no such thing. Your life is a constant journey. It's a constant unfoldment. As you are unfolding, you will help others unfold to their own divinity. But you first have to acknowledge your own. Acknowledge your own divinity within you, because it's there. It always was. It always will be. And stop denying yourself of that. And stop pretending that you are somehow not good enough. Nonsense. That's what I have for you, pile number 3. This was very beautiful. It felt very nurturing, very empowering in my experience. I would love for you to comment how you received these light codes. If any of you are desiring or wanting or are called towards working with me and my team, that information is down below. I will also be announcing something in the next month or so that's very exciting, that I've been working on probably 2.5, 3 years. So I'm really looking forward to that. The best thing you can do is just to go to my website, joannathehealer.com, and sign up for some of the free goodies, and you'll automatically be on my newsletter list that will be mailed to you if you would like to find out what's going on. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for assisting me in doing this work, because if there was no you, there would be no need for me to do this. And I will always say, I absolutely love what I do. I love empowering people. Call me crazy. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.